Lawyers for Donald Trump have started talking with Robert Mueller's special investigation staff about what a Trump interview with his investigators might look like. And this is because Trump's lawyers are probably correctly guessing that eventually Mueller's investigation is going to get to Trump personally. Since how could it not? Since Trump is clearly being investigated personally. And on the table, and we know why, is the idea that instead of an in-person interview with Mueller's team, that Donald Trump would participate by writing written responses to Robert Mueller rather than actually having to go in there and sit down in a live interview. I wonder why Donald Trump's attorneys would prefer that he just submit written answers to Robert Mueller. Another part of the discussion is whether Trump would be interviewed, if there was to be an interview, directly by Robert Mueller or by some of his staff. And more than likely, it seems that it would be Mueller's staff, not Mueller personally. And they're, of course, also examining whether the president can even be interviewed in these investigations. There are multiple sources that say that what Trump's lawyers are really looking for is some kind of legal justification to say you can't actually interview the president himself because it would cause some kind of conflict or problem or security issue. This is not actually a new conversation for Trump's lawyers internally. Back when Paul Manafort was indicted, Trump's legal team, his personal legal team, started strategizing and talking about how can we keep Mueller away from Trump here? But we're getting closer and closer to the time when it's just going to be time for Trump to go in there and talk to them. And that's when it really starts to get funny. A second person familiar with what Trump's lawyers are proposing or thinking about says that Trump's lawyers have the idea that maybe it would be acceptable for Trump to skip the written question and answers, for Trump to skip the in-person interview, and just to write an affidavit where he says, I did nothing wrong and didn't collude with Russia, and that would be it. Yeah, because that would be a really trustworthy piece of paper, right? What do analysts think? They basically think that Donald Trump, if he is thought to be involved, you've got to bring him in personally. The affidavit is BS, and that it would be very unlikely that Robert Mueller's team would agree to just written questions and answers. You got to get him in there. You got to get him in the chair, and you've got to talk to him. I don't know whether Trump's lawyers really think that maybe I didn't do anything wrong on a piece of paper would suffice, or just written question and answers. It's not clear. But the concern, if you're Trump's lawyer, is that you have to realize within 5 minutes of sitting down with Mueller's team, Trump's going to incriminate himself, even if he's not guilty of anything. That's just how Trump is. He finds ways to create new problems for himself, and that's how we have the Russia investigation that we even have today. I was trying to think, is there any way that we might be able to convince Trump that this is a good idea? If you went to Trump and you said, listen, we want to film your meeting with Robert Mueller, and we're going to make it a pay-per-view event, and you're going to get just gigantic ratings on TV, and we'll give you 80% of the pay-per-view revenue. Maybe then Trump would say, I'm going to do it because my interview with Robert Mueller is going to beat all prior records for any interviews with Robert Mueller in history, and I'm going to make the big bucks, and it's going to be absolutely huge. I don't know, but I think everybody who's working for Trump realizes that this would be an absolute and total disaster for Trump to go into that room.